Hey, Geekscapists, welcome to a brand new podcast called Geekscape. Oh man, I'm a little rusty. I've been gone for 3 weeks. And what you're listening to right now, if you're listening on the audio MP3 podcast version of Geekscape, is I'm back by my good friend, Team Goldie. He's the guest of this week's Geekscape podcast. And you're like, hey, what about the last 3 weeks of Geekscape? Well, I had my first child with Heidi. And the wonderful Ophelia Guadalupe London is born. She's 21 days old. So thank you for allowing me 3 weeks to not do a Geekscape. The last episode you heard in the feed is the Comic-Con special with Matt Kelly doing interviews at the Comic-Con booth with a bunch of friends and some of the people who were signing there. I love that episode. I stitched together a little bit of commentary on the ends and had so much fun with that. Before that, we had Jim Kruger, who's an amazing comic book creator. And he came on the show to talk about signing at the Geekscape booth at Comic-Con and also about his work with all sorts of amazing artists. You may know him if you're a comic book fan from the Earth X stuff he did with Alex Ross. But oh my God, these 3 weeks have been crazy. Geekscape has kind of turned into my 18-year plus Truman Show. Y'all have seen me get married. Y'all have seen me get divorced. You'll see me get married again. And now y'all have seen me enter fatherhood. And our good friend DJ Woodbridge, who was on our 700th episode 2 episodes ago in the feed, is going to be a father here in the next month. And I just texted him within the first week of having Ophelia home and was like, dude, I know you're preparing. You're doing everything to prepare. You can't prepare. I feel like lots of people have been parents. Lots of people have been fathers well before me, and they've been worse and better to various degrees of fatherhood. But when you do it, you feel like you're doing it for the first time, regardless of the fact that there are clearly books and things written on the topic. I think that when you become a parent for the first time, you feel like, holy crap, I'm the only one who's ever done this before, because you can only prepare, I think, in the physical sense, but in the mental, emotional sense, when your baby when your baby comes out, and that is the most metal thing. I did not leave the room. I was there the whole time. I think the hospital was a bit overstretched. There were a lot of deliveries that morning, and it was basically me and a nurse for a long time there with Heidi. And seeing Heidi do one of the most metal, badass things I've ever seen anybody do in my entire life is humbling. It was incredible. It made me love her a million times over. And then you see your child come out, and you hear her cries for the first time, and immediately the ultrasounds and the movements of the tummy and all the things that were abstract. Oh yeah, I guess there's a baby in there. I can't see it. All those abstracts of monitors and doctors' visits and things becomes an intense reality, and that was the scariest week of my entire life. I was like, oh my God, how do we keep this alive, this Tamagotchi? I've only raised Pokemon before, and now I have this human child. And the way I described it to DJ, who will be a father in the next few weeks. So I'm on parallel journeys with some friends of mine. And I just said, dude, it's like a wave hits you and drowns you while it floats you at the same time. Like, I'm immediately inundated with the enormity of all of it, and you can't help but take it all in very quickly and acutely. And at the same time, you look at this amazing kid who's staring at you like you and mom are the most important thing on the planet, and this intense responsibility, and I see how it strengthens you. I see how it floats you. I see how you just, and it happens so fast. Like, in the immediate sound of a kid crying, you're like, oh wow, step up, London. So to all the people who said you're gonna be a great dad, I hope not to let you down. This has been great. The last 3 weeks have been insane, and I want to say, Geekscapists, thank you for letting me have them. I'm working my way back to a regular Geekscape schedule. The first person up was always going to be my friend Matt DiStefano, aka Team Goldie, because he had his brand new album Trailblazer come out as Matt Kelly, that would be Matt Kelly, who runs the Geekscape Podcast Network. We were headed to Comic-Con to set up the booth and have Comic-Con for you guys. And Matt was like, DiStefano was like, hey, I'm going to have my album out. I want to come on Geekscape. And I said, dude, I want you on Geekscape. I'm a fan of Team Goldie, which has been like dormant for 10 years. And then now this album came out and it's badass. And you can find it at teamgoldie.com. And it just happened to be happening in a very crunchy time. So Matt's on the episode now to talk about his new Team Goldie album, Trailblazer. And I'll ask him about cassettes. I'll ask him about a bunch of different music stuff. But I'm getting back in the groove. As the song said at the beginning, I'm back. And Team Goldie's back. And we're back with this Geekscape. If this is your first Geekscape, that's what we do. We talk to creators, storytellers, music, video games, comics, TV, pop culture, all that stuff. And we got some awesome ones coming up through the rest of the year. LA Comic-Con is coming up. We're not skimping on that either. I'm on 2 Geekscape panels that I'm hosting, and then I've been asked to be on a 3rd panel at LA Comic-Con, and a lot of content's going to be coming out. I know that Zach Schaefer at $2 Late Fee on our network is going to be there. Christian Blatt, never met a microphone he didn't like, is going to be there doing his panel. I love you, Christian. So there's going to be a lot of Geekscape content coming out at LA Comic-Con, and we appreciate their partnerships with us. It's going to be so much fun. It's a good weekend. But you can tell I'm frazzled. You can tell I'm trying to figure out how to be a podcaster again. But when I say Geekscape Forever, I say Geekscape Forever, and I mean it. So thank you again for the 3 weeks off. Let's get back to business, and let's start the Geekscape episode. Come back and learn all about Team Goldie. Hey, that's me, Jonathan. It's time to start the show. I made the mistake of checking my social media during the theme song, and it made me remember that we have a brand new comic book, Geekscape's comic book, Paul London, the hero of the prophecy. My brother and I made a comic book about his post WWE life, where you guys don't know this. You guys don't know that my brother, after WWE, according to this comic book that's coming very soon, the Kickstarter pre-launch page is up at herooftheprophecy.com. You guys didn't know he was living in a van, and then there was a far-off alien world of sword and sorcery that needed a hero against an evil wizard, and they summoned my brother, yanked him out of a wrestling ring, and then they thought wrestling was real, so they summoned him to be their champion. You guys didn't know that? Well, now you know. It's all documented in the comic book, Paul London, the hero of the prophecy, and that stuff is coming up Kickstarter very soon. So go to herooftheprophecy.com and join that pre-launch page. The interviews are starting to come up on that. But listen to this. I checked my Instagram, and this dude is Ernest Goes to Comics. You guys know Ernest P. Worrell. Any good Geekscape fan knows Ernest P. Worrell, but these people did an Ernest comic book. And I got this message literally just now. Hey, man, you ever do a podcast episode about the Ernest movies? Because for the first time in over 25 years, we're bringing Ernest back in a brand new spooky graphic novel on Kickstarter, September 17th, October 17th. Yeah, roughly the window I want to do for Hero of the Prophecy, but maybe not. We're looking for... I still got to get the cover done, folks. The comic's done. I need the cover, but it's all good. I want the comic to be awesome. It's so that whenever you guys order Hero of the Prophecy, the comic is in your inbox as soon as that campaign ends. I will only start the campaign when you guys have a comic book ready to land in your inboxes. Anyway, this guy says, we're looking for potential podcasts that might be interested in helping us spread the word. Me, Corey Perkins, the writer, would love to hop on a podcast. I have a ton of knowledge about all the films too. And say, bro, say less. Say less, Corey. you had me at Ernest Goes to Comics. You got me, bro. Primary. Hey, this is how we do business here on Geekscape. Hey, Corey, I'm live now. Yeah, this is how we do business. And just read this on the episode. Hell yeah, you're in. Let's plan it. There we go. A little bit of behind the scenes here at Geekscape. All right. Enough of that. And we'll talk comics at a later date. Today we're talking music. My good friend Matt DiStefano has a brand new album out under his nom de plume. How does that apply for his musical alter ego? Team Goldie. It's called Trailblazer. This thing has some effing hits on it. All right. I've always loved his music. I like the Team Goldie stuff. I think Matt did a little bit of audio for one of our podcasts, some of their theme music, but he's got another band called Cassettes that I think is awesome. And then he's back with this Team Goldie album. And I was like, okay. And the second it dropped, I was trying to pull this thing off of Bandcamp. So annoyingly so that like the files were a little flutzed. And I actually like texted Matt and was like, hey man, where's my download? Like an addict. Hey man, where's my download? And he got it fixed rippity quick, not a word. And I got my music, and here he is on the podcast. Did it go any different? That's how it went, right?
Yeah, no, literally there was, I don't know, there's a weird thing in Bandcamp where I thought that for the digital stuff to go live, it just did on your set release date, but you actually have to go in and click a button. And you were the first person that noticed that I had not yet clicked that button. And
yeah, I can stream
and I did it.
And streaming the album's awesome. Geekscape, you can stream it in all sorts of places over at teamgoldie.com. But I like to have the music. I like to have it so that if I'm like without the bandwidth or Wi-Fi, or if I put it on like airplane mode or something to go running and something, I got the music right there with me. And I don't know, man. The music's never really real to me until it's in my car or I have my running shoes on, and I'm like, it's me and the music, just me and the music. And I get the lyrics and stuff. And dude, I love this album. And you know I love this album because I only texted you the entire time, going through it, almost the entire track list. It's called Trailblazer. Should that be your first album's name? I love the song Trailblazer.
It is technically my first album. Someone brought it up because in some description of it, it's like the debut album from Team Goldie. I've released a ton of EPs, a ton of singles over the years, so much music, and never released an actual album. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, right. Like you're a trailblazer, but here's the thing: you have a lot of respect in that community. Matt is in the Philadelphia area. I spent a couple of my undergrad years in Philadelphia learning about the music scene. You are influenced by a lot of that local scene, namely the one that doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion, is Adam and His Package.
That's what I was hoping you were going to say as you were teeing that up. Yeah,
genius
absolutely.
stuff. Adam and His Package, late 90s, early 2000s. The dude's a school teacher, so I love him. And would just make chiptune samples, NES samples, like really, to me, before the Automata Noguchi or whatever that group is that does the Scott Pilgrim stuff, like I love that group. But
they're great.
The first time I think I heard sampling, which became super popular, and Megaran does it and all that, but the first time I heard it, I think, was somebody being like, dude, check this out. This dude samples Track and Field from the NES. And suddenly I was like, holy crap, they're making music with NES like soundtrack samples. This is amazing. And that was Adam and His Package. A Philly legend.
Yeah, for my first exposure to him was just, I had a lot of friends that were a part of the punk rock scene, and it was someone made me like a mix CD or something and had a song from his first album on it. I was like, oh, this is really weird. And also, he's singing "You Shook Me All Night Long" in the middle of this song for some reason, and this is kind of like catchy and fun. So I immediately went and bought it, and next chance I had to see him, he played at a VFW like 15 minutes from my house, and went to see him, and he had the synthesizer and his guitar, and I was so immediately hooked. It was, I don't know, it was a really early influential thing for me to see something like that made music feel very achievable. Like, not to
Hmm.
say that Adam is not insanely talented and a great songwriter and all of that, but it was like, oh, like I can't be Green Day, but well, maybe I could be Green Day. I can't be whatever the
Sure.
giant unachievable band was at the time, but like I could do that.
I
Like
mean, you
he
could have been early Green Day. You could have been
right.
1039 smoothed out, slappy hours. That Green Day
I'll
is
take
pretty
that.
stripped down, but now Green Day is a thing. Now Green Day has so many musicians. I remember talking to the local Austin scene that I came from is similar. Like you guys in Philly and South Jersey had, to me, the bands that you'd see in basements that were accessible in that way was you'd see Lifetime, you'd see Saves the Day after Lifetime, anything that played at the 22nd Unitarian through Sean Agnew. You remember that dude? He used to book
Yeah,
bands.
he still book shows as
He
far
does
as
he
I
really?
know. Yeah, yeah,
I
they have
like Sean
a
a lot,
yeah. They
and
still book him at
and
the church.
and I'd go and you'd see these bands, and it'd be you on the floor with bands, and
Right.
that makes it accessible. We had in Austin the Macbeth Recreation Center, which was, we had like a recycling plant and places where you just needed some space for kids, and you'd see Rancid in these places, or you'd see the one that really was my biggest heart was Liberty Lunch in Austin, and that's where I first saw Green Day. It opened
Oh,
for
cool.
Bad Religion, and it was like, oh my god! And I was only allowed to go there. We talked about it a few episodes ago, Geekscape, but like it was run by my fourth grade teacher, fifth grade teacher, Mark Praz, and so I was allowed to go there, and it feels immediate. Those bands, you get ownership over them, and I imagine with South Philly, I mean, so with South Jersey, Philly, everybody likes that hardcore stuff, and then suddenly this dude's doing chip tunes. What the f, right?
Yeah, just out of nowhere, and it's I think another piece of it. Like number one, it made making music feel like an achievable thing, but also when I started playing shows doing Team Goldie, there was no barrier in my head of I need to play shows with this type of band or I need to play
Mm.
shows with this type of band. Because you'd see someone like Adam's Package or a lot of other Philly bands. You go to these shows and it'd be, a super heavy hardcore band. And then you'd see like a band like Breaking Pangea, kind of like an emo
I
band.
loved Breaking Pangea. They played my radio show.
So good. Such a great
And
band.
yeah,
But you'd see like
and
that
or
in a pop
Vision,
punk
and like
band.
Vision is a bunch of like hardcore kids, and you'd see those bands in
Yeah,
Philly.
you'd see like a mixture of things. So that when I started playing shows, I was like, oh, cool, I can play with, This Is Hell and Blacklisted. I played like a metal festival that Every Time I Die headlined, and could also flip and play with, super pop stuff, Gym Class Heroes, Boys Like Girls,
Mhm.
and then kind of the more pop punk things too. So it was like, oh yeah, I can just do whatever. And because it's this sort of different left of center thing that doesn't really make sense in one place, it sort of makes sense everywhere, which is kind of the thought for that is Adam and his Package, because I'd see him with so many different bands and see him with tour with so many different people. Yeah, huge influence, and I think not enough people know his music. It's so good.
I wish he was still making it.
Same, yeah.
You have a personal relationship with him?
I don't know him at all.
Really?
Yeah, I
Because
interviewed
you're
him.
almost like his freaking Padawan, it feels like.
Right. There's some sort of connection there. I interviewed him once when I used to write for a music website when I was in college,
Like
and that is the.
absolutepunk.net.
It was like
It's
an
like one of those
equivalent.
bands.
It was yeah. It was like a site like that. It
Yeah.
was called rockingthescene.com. It no longer exists unless you go on the Wayback Machine. But yeah, I interviewed him for that site, and I remember. I think it was his last album had just come out and talking about that. But no, that's really my only interaction with him. He seems kind of like a recluse. He's sort of pulled away from music a lot, other than the odd pop-up shows. I know he did, a quote reunion show at the fest a few years back, but no, he seems very kind of like pulled away. And that's sort of when he stopped making music was when I was starting to get into doing it a lot more. So yeah, we never really crossed paths outside of that one time.
What was that first thing? Because you also play in that band Cassettes, and that's a band. It's got all the
Yeah.
traditional instruments, and here, I mean, this album. you bust out on a song, and what's in Geekscape is, I know Matt Kelly in a very early Geekscape, we were talking about a band. I went to school with Jesse Rindell, whose father was, I think he became governor, or I think he was mayor of Philly at the time, but he was in a band called Don't Look Down, and they were such a like smallish, I think they were a smallish Philly band in the late 90s, early 2000s. And Matt was like, how does this guy know this stuff? So that's how Matt Kelly became felt like Geekscape was his podcast, and it is his podcast. Geekscape is your podcast, everyone. You are accepted here. You are accepted here. But that was the one that did it for Matt. And if you're into that stuff, you have a song on here about that entire scene, right? And you name drop the Fearless Records.
Yeah.
Rob hit. I mean, I sent Rob hit from Midtown a text. I was like, dude, Team Goldie just name dropped you in a song. And Rob Hit turns around and says, dude, Matt is a super serious and really talented songwriter. So you're getting props from people in that scene. Midtown was no drugs, right? Like those guys.
One of my favorite bands.
Really well. Yeah. And they ended up going out, and they recently did a tour opening for My Chemical Romance. No slouch. Those are arena tours, right?
Yeah.
Where does that come from? Like, you've been around a long time. What's up with this 10 years off thing, dude?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's funny.
And what was the time before that? Like, I'm sorry, I'm jumping all over the place. I'm enthused, but like, you go and you do those shows. There's a bit of a vacuum there for this kind of music because Adam and his package just kind of retired it. Was it bumpy at any point? Like, it does seem like Philly is accepting of this kind of stuff. Were you able to tour outside of Philly? Were you able to like get out of Philly? And then at what point did that start saying, hey, I'm going to do cassettes for a while, then I'm going to come back to this later? Like, do you have a plan? I'm like your dad. Do you have a plan?
I do have a plan.
Is there a plan for all this?
Yeah, not really. No, I think so. When it started out, I started out when I was in college. It was the summer before my senior year of college. I was going to school in Syracuse, New York, going to school for music and music business, just doing a bunch of internships at, different record labels and stuff like that. And that was sort of the intention was, I'm going to finish school. I'm going to go work in the music business. And my senior year is when I started doing Team Goldie, because I played with friends in high school. We had like a, high school band that we tried to stay consistent with and just couldn't. I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna I'm learning how to record, let me do something on my own. And that's kind of what it grew into. I was like, well, now I have songs, I'll play a show. It was very just a natural progression into it happening. And then was friends with, I'll give a shout out to Matt Dunn, who booked shows in Syracuse at, like, if anyone went to a show in Syracuse, they know who Matt is. And he put me on like the first big show there. It was with Gym Class Heroes, a band called June, and then a band that you know very well, Zoloft Rock and Roll Destroyer.
Yes, and I was peeling back the ages because I got asked to be on a podcast about Real Big Fish, specifically to talk about the music video we did for them for Don't Start a Band, which I only got because Real Big Fish's manager, Vince Pileggi, manages Zoloft, and I made a video for like $50 for Zoloft, and Vince saw it and said, hey, this guy sounds cheap, let's make the Real Big Fish video. and that was that budget, that was $5,000, so like we added 2 zeros and it was the same thing. So those are early videos, and I love Zoloft Rock and Roll Destroyer. They moved to Austin. They moved to my hometown of Austin. Rachel and Mitch
didn't know that.
It's great.
Very cool. Actually, no, I did know that. Vince mixed the cassettes record. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, no, if you talk to him, tell him hi. I love them.
I don't really know him. He's more of a tangential one of the other dudes, so I don't know him. But we got hooked up with him mixing it, and it turned out great.
Geekscape, so good. If you don't know Zoloft the Rock and Roll Destroyer, I love that band.
Check him out. Super pop. But yeah, started playing shows in Syracuse. Was getting out in front of some bigger crowds there, and when I finished college, was looking for jobs and wasn't really finding anything immediately. I was like, all right, let me like book a tour. So I literally I didn't play. Yeah, why not?
What the fuck?
What? Yeah, just book a tour. I actually didn't play
I have no income. Let me get into more debt.
Yeah, right. Well, that's the thing too, is being, I'm sure like other solo people you've talked to, it's very easy to tour yourself. I had
Sure.
a
Okay.
2002 Chevy Cavalier. I drove that, so like at the time gas was not bad, so I could get from place to place. It was super inexpensive, so I would go play a show, make a little bit of money, sell some merch, and come back with some money in my pocket. But yeah, that's what I ended up doing. I was like, I'm just gonna book a show. I didn't play in Philly for probably like the first year that I did this. I just was bouncing around, playing different places. Would go
And
up to
that's where you
like,
grew up.
yeah, that's where I live right
You went to high school
now.
and stuff like that. So like that's where
Yeah.
people would have turned out for you, right?
Eventually
Yeah.
it got there, but I didn't. I was kind of unplugged from the music scene here for a bit because I was, away at school in the summers, off different places doing internships. So it took me a little bit to kind of like figure out what was going on and start making friends and start playing stuff. But yeah, I was just booking tours, like a lot of booking tours through MySpace at the time, and playing in the Midwest, playing in New England, playing all around, the area here, Delaware, Jersey, Maryland, all over Pennsylvania. And yeah, was doing that, put out an EP that I recorded in a friend's bedroom, and just started like ripping shows. People were into it. They liked it. It was something that was different from everything else. So started just playing bigger and bigger shows. Building up a little bit of like music industry buzz. That's actually when I met Rob Hitt. I randomly sent him a CD to his label, and
Rob, sorry, Rob, I didn't know. I only know Rob from Midtown, who also played the radio show that I did at
yeah.
WSBN. But he had, sorry, label.
Yeah, he still has a record label.
Okay,
I Surrender Records. It's
oh, that's
he
your
put
Rob. I know that label. Oh my
yeah,
god,
yeah, that's his label.
it's
So
like when
like
people say, "Oh, that podcast is on Geekscape."
yeah.
I know that podcast, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's on my podcast network." They're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
listen to every episode of that." I'm like, "You ever listen to Geekscape?" They're like, "No, you suck."
Yeah.
But people come up to me and they say they listen to one of our other podcasts, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's a Geekscape podcast." That little thing, like,
Yeah.
says Geekscape on it.
The little logo, the little tag at
Yeah,
the
I
end of every
surrender is
episode.
yours, Rob. My apologies. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Love you.
So yeah, at that time was just kind of starting to like build up a little bit of industry buzz. People were interested, was talking to like a bunch of indie labels, like big and small, talking to like a couple major labels about doing some things. And I will put it all on me. I fumbled the ball with any opportunities. I was very like young and unsure of myself and indecisive and couldn't really like pull the trigger. And it was just me. There wasn't another
Wait, what do you
member of the
mean?
band.
Like you were getting offers from some okay sizable places that wanted to actually like have you go and put some of this stuff out properly, and
Yeah.
maybe wait.
Yeah, I was really young, and I was just kind of like, there was a bunch of different things coming in, and I was just not really sure what I wanted to do,
You'd
and
have to
was
make a
kind of,
choice.
yeah, and I couldn't.
Did you wait, Matt? You had
So
like you like froze or like what?
uh
I
yeah, I
mean, were you
guess so.
thinking like, were you so up in like the DIY stuff that you were like, no, I got this, and ownership's important to me, and I don't want to be like, I don't want to take a loan from a company that I'm gonna have to pay back,
Sure.
and I can understand how that pressure buckles bands. I mean, if Guns N' Roses has to break up and like bring Buckethead in or whatever the heck iteration of Guns N' Roses
Yeah.
is, if a band like Guns N' Roses, which was the biggest band in the world in like 89, 90, 91, before that the brick started coming out of that scene, if they take loans out from labels and they have trouble selling albums and paying it back, like I can understand that pressure. At the same time, right, it's like the indecision. Wow.
Yeah, I think it was a little of searching for the perfect situation, which doesn't exist. Like always, kind of like once a little bit of buzz starts and this person's interested and this other person's interested, it's like, oh well, maybe this other label that I think's the perfect thing, maybe we try to get something to them. And but anyway, I couldn't make, some of it was the DIY thing though too, like with Rob. He put me in touch with a production duo at the time, and we talked about doing a record. And they were big on like writing songs together. One of them went on to be an enormously successful songwriter, who I will say I'm sure you've experienced this in different industries. There's people that were like very cool and nice and always great to give feedback to and chat with at the time when there was a little bit of like wave and buzz. And then there's only a handful that when I shoot them something today even respond at all. So anyway, this songwriter always gets still like, I sent him the new record. He's like, oh yeah, man. He's like, Roses is fire. Like still got it. Like whatever. Very nice. But anyway, they're really into like co-writing, which now who gives a shit? I'll write a song with anybody. But at the time I was like, oh, I don't know. This is my cool punk
What year
rock
was this?
DIY thing. This is
yours?
probably like 2007, 2008, maybe.
The only
ballpark.
in that scene is like a Shep and Kenny. I'm thinking, but that
Well,
wasn't them. They did the Punchline. They did a Bayside album, and they did Punchline right after that.
I know Shep.
37 Everywhere.
Shep was at a label at the time and
Okay.
at a major label and did want to do like a demo deal that was basically like, we'll pay for you to record some songs with different producers, and then like either we'll sign you if we are excited about it, or we'll you have like a 6-month holding period where you can't do anything. Which
Okay.
that was my holding point there. I was just like, well, all these other people are interested too. Why am I going to get in a holding pattern with that? But no, Shep, super nice dude. No, this was Sam Hollander, who I don't know if you know who he is. He, like, anyone who's listening, Google Sam Hollander.
Okay.
He co-wrote, I think one of like his biggest songs is High Hopes, the Panic at the Disco song,
Yeah.
which is just a massive. He's written with songs for like Katy Perry, just every person you can name. Hugely successful dude. But yeah, at the time it was like cool punk rock DIY Matt. Like, oh, I don't know. Like, I reached out to a band that they'd worked with because they were still very early on. They hadn't kind of reached the success that they did later with some of the bands they worked with, and reached out to one band they worked with and was like, oh, what was it like? Like, what did, just kind of so skeptical. I don't know. I was a young asshole. I didn't know what I wanted.
Have those. I remember when Hopeless asked me to do it, like we for free, because I'm a big Mike Park fan. We did a Hopeless. We did a Mike Park Asian Prodigy video, and we shot it in my DP Jeff's living room, and we just with a projector and stuff. If you guys find the Asian Prodigy video for Mike Park, we shot that in like a few hours. And then Hopeless came back to me and was like, hey, we want to do another video with you. And I was really feeling a lot of burnout there. This is 2005, 2006, maybe 2007. And I was feeling a lot of burnout on shooting indie videos. And I said, I'm not connecting with the song. And I think that if you want to do something and you're waiting for it to be perfect, who gives a F if you're connecting with the song or not? A gig's a gig. And I had also thought that I'd worked myself beyond that budget. Like, I did the Mike Park video because I love Mike Park, and it was, free 99 for Mike Park because I will always be a Mike Park fan. This band, I didn't connect with the music right away, and it was under what I was then doing for videos, and the band was called All Time Low, and I should have done the fucking.
You should have done it. Hindsight is 2020. Also, Sam Hollander wrote songs with All Time Low.
I had my head had to wrap around it. Like that EP was cool. I liked the full length even more. Not that I would have landed it, but I should have at least pitched on it. And ultimately, it's the band. It's the video they shot in Jumbo's Clown Room. And the actress who's in it ended up becoming a friend of mine because she was one of the actors that Warner Brothers uses to train directors. And as I went through Warner Brothers as a director trainee, she was the actress that we use in all our scenes. And I look up, we become friends, and she's like, "Yeah, I was the girl in that All Time Low video." And I'm like, "Yeah, sliding doors and all that, whatever." Okay. Kicking myself in the pants, because I like All Time Low, and I like that at full length. It's just the burnout's real, the self-doubt's real, and then ultimately I'm listening to the song 50 times, and nothing's entering my cabeza. I'm like sitting there going, okay, like it's just not clicking, and sometimes I feel like the worst thing I could have done was pitch a video that I didn't Yeah, I should have pitched the fucking video. No, Jonathan, you should have. Shut up,
Could have done
Jonathan.
it.
You should have
Yeah.
pitched the all-time low video.
That is funny. Yeah, I feel like there, but you can't look back at stuff and
Yeah, never did that. Never have regrets. I have no
no,
regrets whatsoever.
you made the decisions you made and you live with them. Yeah, so I mean, I got to a point where it was kind of like looking for the right thing. I found there was one thing that I was like, all right, I think this is what I want to do, and then by the time I got there, it was sort of like too late. It had kind of like it had already passed, so I kept playing music, was putting stuff out, was still like playing really great shows, and I think I was kind of like chasing something still, and just got to a point where I wasn't having as much fun making the music, and it was like I put together a live band for a little bit, which was fun, but yeah, just got to a point where it didn't feel as fun as when I started it out, which is kind of what led to me stopping it. So it's like, this is not making me as happy as it did before, and I feel like I'm like chasing a thing that's not there. So that kind of led to the end. And then starting the band Cassettes very naturally kind of out of Team Goldie. Like some of the songs on the first Cassettes EP transitioned over. And yeah, just that was more, I want to play in a band with my friends and write songs, and we'll play shows in Philly and not have any expectations other than having fun with it. And that's kind of how that started.
I love Cassettes. I love that.
Thanks, man. Me too.
No, I love the EP. I love the album. I love everything you put out as cassette. I love everything you put out, period, Matt. In this Team Goldie album, I can understand you're getting older. Your teammates, I'm going to call them teammates, your band members are all starting to pursue other things, and it's harder to keep something like Cassettes together. But if Team Goldie is a pretty stripped down pop-up that you can take around and throw in the back of a 4-door, I think that works. And sometimes the scene moves away from you. Sometimes the industry moves away from you. Sometimes I had a meeting. I've had some really good meetings, which is crazy because they've come in a very acute moment in my life where I'm a new dad, but suddenly the writing has been very, very good, and I've had a lot of fun writing, but I've had to take on some co-writers, which has been beautiful. I love having people who can refill my image bank and my creative bank. And I looked at a script that I pitched my producer. I said, hey, what about this actor? Would he be into something like this? And I pitched him an idea that I knew I had written up. And I was like, okay, now let me take an hour and go back and revisit that document. When did I write that document? I wrote that document, it turns out, and I learned this last night, in 2008. I had not touched that document since 2008. The actor that had written it with the idea of, there's no way you'd do it now. But there's another actor who's doing stuff, and he's come up tangentially in meetings. And that's kind of what kicked it into my head, was like, okay, this person's back in a bit of our world. He'd probably be able to get him to read this. Let's see what state it's in. What's the state it's in is Jonathan in 2008's writing state. It's not, there's some stuff in there that's like straight problematic where you're like, oh, I can see how that would have been funny back in 2008, but there's no way you're putting that on screen in 2024, 2025. And Jonathan, at my age, 45, I didn't think that was that funny. Jonathan, who's being a little edgelord in his late 20s, like, it's hilarious. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so sometimes the industry moves away from you. Sometimes the culture moves away from you, and then it moves back.
Yeah.
Right? So like silly comedies, something like a 40-year-old virgin, or something like the Apatow stuff that was really popular and brought us Seth Rogen in that team. You'd go to the movie theaters to see that kind of stuff, but now, that's really the Netflix is putting out a lot of that stuff. Now we've got like Jackpot with John Cena and Awkwafina, and that's like the stuff now. Is like those kind of highbrow comedies they're for the streamers, and so but for about 10 years, there's no place to land those things. You're not, you're just not writing them. You're just not making them, and then, like I say, then the industry comes back, and that script I had from 2008 comes back in 2024. Just got to get rid of some of the edgelord stuff, some of the problematic stuff. Got to get rid of
Iron it out.
You got to iron it out a little bit.
Sand
All right,
some edges.
Jonathan, you're a bit of a better writer now. You're not any smarter, but you have a little bit more experience. And who knows, maybe it has life again. So then we have this Team Goldie.
Yeah.
And you've done cassettes. Why not just start something new, dude? Like, why did it have to be Team Goldie? In that same argument I just made, where maybe you pursued something else, your life went in a different direction, and then as maybe music comes back, what if it, and I feel like the scene has come back, and you wrote a song about it. But like yesterday I saw somebody wearing a When We Were Young shirt from that concert series in Vegas, or whatever it is, the When We Were Young concert.
Yeah,
that shit's back.
Yeah.
So now Team Goldie.
Right.
Why? What started telling you?
It's funny that
I love the album, but like, what started telling you? What was like the tea leaves you were reading that you're like?
Yeah, I don't think there was much thought into it. You saying like, oh, why didn't you? There really wasn't. Like you saying, oh, like why didn't you think of doing like a new thing? I was like, oh, it didn't even cross my mind. So the way it kind of came back was cassettes was, pandemic kind of put a squash on any momentum cassettes was building.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks pandemic. The worst part is you stopped our small Philadelphia band from continuing. That's the worst part of the pandemic. Everyone
that was Putin's plan.
Take that away. Yeah, not a fan of cassettes, but yeah. So we like wrote and demoed almost a whole record remotely. And we're just kind of like, people went off and did their other things. And then I was kind of just like writing some stuff. And I wrote the song Trailblazer, which is the last song on the record. That was like the first new Team Goldie song that I wrote. I was like, oh, this kind of feels like a Team Goldie song. This is maybe like, let me record this. I was like, oh, it kind of sounds like a Team Goldie song. Like, I don't know, that's kind of fun. Let's look back, and there were some other older songs that at sort of the tail end of the first wave of Team Goldie that I'd never really finished. I was like, oh, that idea was really fun. Let me go back and flesh that out and turn that into a thing. And new ideas were coming, and there were a few songs that we had for cassettes that were like, didn't really make sense for a cassettes record and really made more sense under, the Team Goldie project. I sound like a fucking idiot. But
I get it.
So it was very organic. It wasn't like a decision like Team Goldie's going to come back and I'm going to write a record. It was just like I sort of accidentally wrote a song and then just started writing more. Never had an intention to put out an album. I was like, oh, I'll like put out a few singles and it'll be, whatever it is. And then started to kind of cobble together this full album that made sense. And yeah, it was, there wasn't a whole lot of thought put into it up until that point. It was came together organically. And I think just, to your point, there's this wave of nostalgia for a scene from, 15, 20 years ago. And this music fits within that. So it kind of just so happens to be good timing with that. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't think much about it.
I think ultimately the songs have to dictate it, and I see it as not as a musician, but as somebody who writes a lot, and the characters and your journey on this planet as a storyteller. You gotta listen to that, and I think other artists are doing as well. I mean, it doesn't help that the entire album concept has been decimated by singles, by Spotify playlists, by that stuff. Yeah. My friend Joel Reeder, who I first met in Swarthmore in 97, 98, when he was bassist from MTX, just put out a song a few days ago with his band, The Fatal Flaw. And The Fatal Flaw is Boston based. Oh, yeah. And I love
I have a friend in that band.
I love The Fatal Flaw, their new album, Don't Push Me Away. It's not an album. The new song is fantastic.
Yeah.
Blink-182, one of the biggest bands on the planet, is putting out 8 songs in the next, I think, week or two, very soon. And they put up 2 songs like 2 days ago, which I didn't know about until I looked up earlier. I said, whoa, Blink-182 has 2 new songs out. Oh, it's going to be part of 8 songs, which is a bit of a strange format, but I think it would have been a strange format 20 years ago when everybody was album focused. But I remember being at dinner with another Philly person, Maria Papadakis. I think she does news out there, or she works
Okay.
for one of the news outlets. But she used to live in L.A. and she was
Great
working.
name.
She's great, and she used to live in L.A. But I last time I saw her, she moved back to Philly and was doing local news over there. And she was working for a label, and she told me across the table, this must have been 2004, 5, 6, and the height of me doing music videos. And she said, "No more albums. We're doing EPs. We're going to do smaller. We're not going to pay for full album recordings. We're going to see if somebody's only listening to 1 or 2 songs on a playlist, why are we doing full, like 10 or 12 albums? Are going to have to become unique things." I thought it was crazy because I love listening to full albums. No offense. Yeah. I love full albums. And so here you go. You've got a 9 songs, 10 songs for the Team Goldie. Yeah. And you went for it. You are a bit of a soldier though, Matt. Like I look up and you are doing the same stuff that I think worked for Richard and Stephanie Rains when they were first starting Drive Through. I remember meeting them for the first time outside the Electric Factory in Philly. Yeah. Probably at a Blink show, maybe at the Green Day N.E.R.D tour. I don't know, but they were in Philly outside the Electric Factory handing out those Drive Through like comps that had like early Drive Through bands like Mother Mania and stuff like that, and maybe Phoenix TX and things like River Phoenix back then. And they were pounding the pavement, handing out CDs, getting their album known, their label known. You've been doing that recently. Why not just go full digital promotion? You're going outside of these Blink-182 shows, 182 shows, and you're handing people CDs and flyers. What? Come on, man. We too old for this.
Yeah, why can't you do both? It's funny, that was actually one of my internships was at Drive Through Records.
Yeah.
When I was that's a whole other set of stories. No, it was a really positive experience. But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the TikTok thing and the Spotify playlists and all that.
You're working hard, dude. I see you working hard.
Listen,
anybody who sits through Geekscape's working hard. No kidding. You're working hard.
Yeah, you gotta try. You gotta at least try. So I'm trying to figure that stuff out. But like, I know how to go and talk to a person. And going up to, like you said, I went to Blink-182, played down the street from here in Philly. Walked down there with a fanny pack full of stickers and just went up to talk to people. Like I you could spot some people that had kind of the more niche shirts where you'd be like, okay, I'm gonna this person has like
there's my in.
Yeah, like it's an easier conversation. It's like, you're that shirt that you have. There was someone that had a Less Than Jake shirt. I was like, oh sweet, like let's chat about Less Than Jake or whatever.
That'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was very cool. I met a lot of really cool people. It's an easy way to try to spread the word and get people to check it out. Why not do it? I don't know any other way to get out in front of people. And I think you're also getting in front of people locally. Like I have no big aspirations to tour again. Like playing shows locally, playing shows regionally. Super fun, really into that, working on putting a band together right now. But just being able to reach people like, people that like Blink-182 that live near where I live and would potentially be playing regularly. Here's a really easy way to find them. They're probably going to be at least remotely interested in music that sounds like this. Here, check it out. Let's chat for a second and meet each other. It was funny. I got an email after doing that from a guy who was like, hey, we met at the Blink-182 show. I didn't realize it, but I actually had your EP downloaded from years and years ago. He's like, I didn't realize it was you. He said, because I'm ageless, which I took as a compliment. But he was just like, it was so cool. It's like, love that you're still doing the thing, checking out the new record, all that sort of stuff. So it was kind of a funny way to reconnect with some people, because I played hundreds of shows and was out in front of a lot of people, but not all of them have followed me to where we live on social media now. Like when
There's
I
too much
went
zig and zag, right? Like there's too many. You've moved from MySpace to Facebook to Instagram to TikTok. Like
Twitter
there's
to
just
like
too much. You're pulling your audience through rings every time, and there's got to be
right.
some erosion or a new explosion of it. But it feels like the luck of the draw with these algorithms.
Yeah.
But you're doing the work of actually making a personal connection, and when you do that, I feel like some of those people will follow you through thick or thin. Did he admit to downloading your album off LimeWire?
I
I'm
don't.
kidding.
He probably did. I don't know. He may. Someone did tell me. Someone who I'm friendly with, who I sent the record early, who used to write for AbsolutePunk.net. We were talking about that earlier, and I sent him the new record. He's like, "Oh, this is so cool." He's like, "I recorded screen recorded the songs, or not screen recorded. I think actually like with a handheld recorder, recorded the songs off of purevolume.com, which is the music streaming website." He's like, "Oh, I like recorded it off the speakers because I like couldn't afford to buy a CD." Or I was like, "You should have just emailed me. I would have sent you everything. Like, who cares?" But it was funny. But yeah, no, I don't know. Maybe probably download it, labeled as something else on LimeWire, if I had to guess.
I love the album, dude, and
Thank you. There's
so many surprises on it. As I went through and keep in mind, this will be the soundtrack to when I listen to your album. I'm gonna be like, oh, this is the album I was listening to when Ophelia was born. Because
you said that, and I said I'm sorry.
No. The thing is, like, I wanted to promote your album when it came out, which was Comic-Con weekend, and that just wasn't going to happen. Then the following weekend, Heidi's induced and we're having a baby, and that was going to happen. And then you're in a maelstrom of being a father for the first time in your life, and that took a little bit of time. So you were going to be the first person on Geekscape when I came back, and so this album, I'm listening to it on the drives back and forth to the hospital. I'm listening to it late at night. I'm listening to it when I'm like trying to get my headspace back in the midst of like a major life change. And dude, you're hitting me with stuff like, again, that song. What's the name of the song where you're dropping names of all the scene of the labels?
One and Only.
The One and Only. Like that song's effing awesome. And I immediately sent it to my friend Matt DiStefano, who I went to MXPX Lesson Jake with, and was just like, dude, listen to this song. It is a biography of your life and your music listening habits, which it is. Then out of nowhere, Stockton to Malone in the Utah Jazz. I don't talk about him a lot on Geekscape because it's Geekscape.
Sure, sports.
The Utah Jazz are my other massive fandom.
Oh, no way.
It sounds so pathetic right now. No, I mean, they've never won a championship.
Sure.
And I've followed them since 89.
Yeah.
Like, since I was a kid. And John Stockton was my favorite player through high school, through college, through his entire career.
Yeah.
And you have a song called Stockton and Malone. They're the tandem you think of, Stockton and Malone. And you have a song called Stockton and Malone. And I'm falling big time for it. It's a great song. And I texted you immediately, was like, dude, did you know that I was a massive Utah Jazz fan? Like, what could be sadder or more like coincidental? Like, the Jazz are totally going to tank this coming season because they should.
That's what they do.
But they don't. That's the frustrating thing about the Jazz. Like, they're always a playoff team, or they're also always like right there, and they don't. If they, like they lost Gordon Hayward and Donovan Mitchell walked right on the door and made them another awesome team. Like, they're always right back in the thick of it.
Yeah.
And they never get they never win a championship. And so, like, for somebody who's like, to me, for somebody who's always trying and always striving and always looking for that next thing to climb, they're the perfect team for me, because it's like success is just out of reach every freaking time.
Always.
And it's just become a rhythm. But you have a song about Stockton Malone as a metaphor for pairing up with somebody and loving somebody and being a perfect pair with them. I think it's great, dude.
Yeah.
Your album speaks to me in a lot of cool places. Again, like I texted Rob Hitt and was like, dude, Team Goldie shouted you out. Like,
yeah,
it's just great. You know,
He's the first one I sent that song to.
dude, Heath Saraceno was like pretty offended. Gabe Saporta had some things to say, but
Yeah, you know, next album,
Tyler was like, "What the heck?
we'll
You
shout
left out
out
the rest of
everyone.
Midtown." Just
They
showed
did.
them all.
There is a Midtown shout out in that song
Yes,
though, so
yes,
not
there's a couple of
specifically
shout
everyone
outs.
else. Yeah, there's quite a few shout outs in that song.
Listen, man, if all you need is like what, a guitar and maybe one person accompaniment, just get on a plane, come out to LA, and play some shows, dude.
Yeah, right. I mean, getting on a plane and coming out to LA always happens because I have family out there. But yeah, playing shows a little tougher. It's I don't know. I think now too. I used to do the one man thing with backing tracks and stuff like that, and that's fun. But I really like playing with a band. So I'm
Yeah.
putting a band together right now, which is going to be still some stuff sampled because there's a billion things going on in the songs. But yeah, trying to figure out a way that we can be adaptable and play with a full group, but also kind of play with a smaller group too if we need to. Just knowing, everyone's schedules are different. So yeah, not outside of the realm of possibility.
So at that point, you could do, because I see, like, I know Amber Pacific, who I shot some stuff for. They're starting to, like, Hawthorne Heights taking them off on a couple one-off dates in Texas, out west. Ultimate Fake Book, for the Descendants love Ultimate Fake Book, so every now and then the Ultimate Fake Book will do some cool shows, and I know they all have full-time jobs and are doing their thing. You'd be open to pairing up with like a bigger name band and being like, yo, let me go open for you guys, let's go do 5-6 dates somewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's not up to me. I'm open to that. It's any cool band that would want to have us open for them or have me open for them. Yeah, absolutely.
I think you're great for a nerf herder. I think you're great for some of the bands that have been in the periphery of Geekscape that have been on the show or that we talked to quite a bit. I think that'd be a lot of fun,
Well, you can be my booking agent. Feel free.
I'll be as successful a booking agent as I am a podcaster. It'd be great.
Yeah.
It'd be wonderful. You guys will be wonderful. It's fine. I missed Geekscape. I did. I missed Geekscape. Even though my brain was going a million miles an hour, and I was obsessed with trying to keep a new life alive.
Yeah. I have to say congratulations. I did say congratulations to you, but I haven't said it in this conversation,
thanks,
and
man.
I don't want someone to be listening to this and be like, Matt's an asshole. Why isn't he saying anything
well, you
about
met
Jonathan having a child?
I brought Ophelia on camera before we went live.
Yes, right.
And we just made Ophelia's private Instagram for that we just made her a Gmail account.
She can start posting.
Well, Gmail does this thing where like you can create an account as a parent, and then give it to your kid when they reach a certain age.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did that, and then the Instagram's tied to it. And it's me private, friends, family. Like we're gonna, we've heard all the reasons for keeping your kid's face off social media.
Oh yeah.
And so we're gonna try as hard as we can to do that for a long time, and we'll see. But nobody's perfect, and I don't know. The kid's amazing. This kid is amazing. Geekscape just won't see her face unless it's through a DM or private message. I text photos all the time of Ophelia. Matt Kelly says, I've been listening while playing Super Mario Brothers with Barb and loving this whole chat. Well, Matt, we love you.
Yeah,
we
that's
love
how we know
Barb.
each other.
Dude, have you met Barb? Matt's girlfriend?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She's great, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I haven't met her, but just the fact that like feeling how she is with Matt and knowing Matt since Matt, you were almost right out of undergrad, right? When I met you, like, I think Matt's been in some relationships here and there, but like, absolutely, he's my younger brother. And he says, nice, right on cue. Never forget your first child, Jonathan. Matt Kelly from Philadelphia. And as I was saying, like having this woman Barb enter his life, not to put too much of his business up on Geekscape for the 7 followers. She's been awesome. She's been great. And Matt is like entering this era that's like beautiful to watch, So now it's your turn, man. I'm kidding, Matt. DiStefano, we need you to get out here to the West Coast and play like a Comic-Con or an LA Comic-Con or do something out here that is geeky, Team Goldie adjacent.
Yeah.
And that is appropriate. like in this new band's not a new band, new music. You're gonna play Team Goldie songs, right?
Oh yeah, no.
It's a band to play Team Goldie songs.
It's a band to play Team Goldie songs. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And it's some cassette songs.
Probably not. Just
no, I ain't seen you guys live. Come on.
Probably not. It's because that's a separate thing. Like that's a thing that with one group. There's maybe like a song, or I would maybe consider a song or two that were like originally Team Goldie songs that became cassette songs. But no, I think there's like this whole new record. There's a bunch of like old Team Goldie stuff that I'm hoping to play.
Okay.
Actually, been re-recording a few, little Taylor's version action of some old songs because the old recordings sound like garbage.
You're better now.
They don't sound so great. It was funny.
Taking that screenplay from 2008.
Yeah. I'm doing that. I'm doing the rewrite. The one I played for a friend, the new recording, and he was like, "Oh, this sounds great." He's like, "Yeah, it sounds. This is like." Sounds kind of like the old one, right? I was like, no, listen to them back to back. And he literally started laughing when he listened to the old one after. I was like, oh my gosh, this is...
It's like a can on a string. Like,
yeah. You made do with what you had at the time. I will say, like, I have a full-time job that I really enjoy that treats me very well. And that's part of what, like, allows me to have fun doing this. Like, record a record that sounds good, to press some vinyl, to do, like, cool merch and stuff like that. Like, now... there's less of a financial burden on myself for all of that. It's more like, I can dump money into this fun hobby rather than, well, if I press CDs, I have to sell all of them because I need to get money back and all that sort of thing. So it's been fun.
Well, Geekscape is the band is called the band. It's gonna be a band now. Team Goldie. Can't wait for that West Coast tour. But you can get that new album Trailblazer at teamgoldie.com, and I welcome all of you to do it. If you find it on Bandcamp, it's pay what you want. You got maybe on a Bandcamp Friday, maybe you got a set price, but whatever it is, you double the amount, pay that. And Matt Kelly says, fun fact, Goldie played the Matt Kelly moving to LA party. As short-lived as that was. Well, a bunch of villagers with pitchforks played the Matt Kelly moving back to Philly party.
Yeah.
And as we chased them back out of town. I'm kidding. Stupid.
Yes. Funny story about that show, real quick. I did play the show he put on before he moved.
About to say? Should Barb be here?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
No, nothing salacious.
He's a family man now.
Okay. No, it's a very positive Matt Kelly story. And I think he's probably heard me talk about it before. We talked about it recently. So he put on this show. He was going to headline it. It's my big send-off to LA. And the show got shut down or ended before he could play.
No,
and so he had everyone else play. And then he played in like the back of someone's pickup truck in a parking lot down the road or something like that. I kind of vaguely remember that. But anyway, the point being that Matt Kelly is very selfless and would rather have, other bands play his going away party than have himself play.
What's more appropriate for somebody leaving town than to put him in something that is like mobile and like be like, all right, he's already on his way. We put him in the truck already.
Get out right now.
The wheels are starting to roll on you, pal. Sayonara. Yes. That's cool. I love Matt. Love Matt like a brother. Literally. And Matt DiStefano of Cassettes and Team Goldie fame. Dude, thanks for coming on Geekscape, man. I hope all the success. I know that this isn't like, I know you just called it a hobby, but how dare you? I love this song. I love all the songs, and I can't wait for these. I can't wait for the Taylor's versions of your
man.
Songs, dude.
And don't get me wrong, it's the hobby, but like I want people to hear it. I'm trying to get the music out to people. I would love for it to be more successful than it is. So yeah, everyone check it out. It's out on vinyl now. And then, just working on some new stuff. Got some other, songs and stuff. Like, this will not be the last Team Goldie thing that enters the world. But it's the one that's out now, so people should check it out.
It makes me super excited, dude. I love hearing that. Geekscape I'm setting up another Geekscape soon. I mean, clearly I'm going to be talking Ernest makes comics or Ernest does comics.
That sounds great.
Let's see if the guy hit me back. Let's see real quick. He's not. He is not. So when he listens to this episode, Corey, I checked to see if you hit me back, but I'm excited to have you on the hey, dude said Ernest goes to comics, an Ernest P. World comic book. Yeah, you're automatically on Geekscape. Yeah. We got more guests coming up. the road to LA Comic Con is the first week of October. So I don't know if we can announce our panels yet, but there will be a Geekscape Live with tons of friends on it, and that'll be great. Love doing the Geekscape Lives at LA Comic Con. And I hope you guys enjoy having them on the feed. If this is your first Geekscape, subscribe. I'll do all that stuff, share it on socials. But the main thing is teamgoldie.com. Pick up a new copy of Trailblazer. Get it on vinyl. Go ahead and get it on vinyl.
Yeah.
Get it on vinyl.
Get a candle. I have candles. I got some weird merch. When you don't care about spending money, you can make weird merch. Go buy a candle.
Dude, thanks, Matt. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Take care, Geeks. Give us peace. Don't hate, create.